So another day of Browns training camp, another day in Berea is in the books, and today was a massive day, and there were some positive things that happened, and there were also some very negative things that happened. I'm going to talk about both. Obviously, the main headline is now going to be Martin Emerson's injury. It was non-contact. He got carted off, and you just hate to see it, but as a Browns fan, I'm just starting to get numb to these things. I thought for once the secondary was finally going to go into a season fully healthy, but it turns out that I was wrong, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video because I still want to keep this positive, because Shador Sanders and Dillon Gabriel both had very solid days. Same with Joe Flacco. So I want to show you guys all the highlights and kind of break down everything that went on in today's training camp, and then I'll of course cover the unfortunate news. But before I do begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind, and your support truly means the world. Alright, so today we got another round of Shador Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, and Joe Flacco all getting in reps, continuing the fight for that QB1 spot. And yes, Kenny Pickett is still in the conversation, but with him sidelined, these other three are getting valuable chances to prove they can take control of this offense. Obviously, Flacco's going to be out there week 1, but still, that doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to be the starter for the whole season. So let's start with Shador Sanders, because like I said, he had a solid day. I believe he was like 7 for 10 according to the stats that get posted after the day finishes. And then Dillon Gabriel was really good as well, but he had a really bad throw, a bad interception in the back of the end zone to kind of end practice. So he ended things off on the wrong foot. You never want to see that. And Shador Sanders, man, just continues to make strides forwards. One of his best throws came off a play action fake where he dropped back and scanned the field, and then he felt the pressure up the A gap. We all know that his pocket presence is already top notch, and he rolled out to his right, and on the move he delivered a strike over the middle to a dig route. Not only was it a good throw, but it was a great job of staying poised under pressure. And even though Shador is still working mostly with the second and third units, you can feel things starting to shift, especially with this new injury to Kenny Pickett. The staff is giving him more reps, and you can tell they're starting to realize that this kid might actually be ahead of schedule. There was a story floating around that really shows how focused he is right now. Apparently Dion wanted to come watch him one of the last few days, and Shador told him, "Don't come to practice yet. I'm working on me. Let me get where I need to be first." And that's the mentality he's bringing and has brought into camp. He knows the preseason is when he'll really be tested, but every day in practice he's showing growth and proving that he belongs, and he doesn't want to create any unnecessary drama. He doesn't want to bring any more spotlight than he already has on himself. So I think his mindset's in the right place, and you can see it on the field with his performance. But then, unfortunately, mid-practice on the injury front, the most significant news of the day was, of course, Martin Emerson going down during 7-on-7s. It happened while he was covering Deontay Johnson. He planted on his left leg and just collapsed. I was hoping that it was because of heat, but it doesn't look like it. He just went straight to the ground. He couldn't put any weight on it, and you could just see it in his face, man. He was emotional, and he had to be carted off with a towel over his head. Nobody ever wants to see that. Emerson's been a critical piece of the secondary. I know he had a down year last year and kind of fell off a bit, but still, the talent is there, and him next to Denzel Ward just makes so many things possible. And anytime you lose a guy like that, even just temporarily, hopefully it is temporary, but I don't think it's going to be based on what I saw. It's a big blow. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looked, but it's definitely going to put a damper on the energy for the rest of the next few weeks. Now, getting back to Shador for a second, there was a second angle of that rollout throw that really highlighted his manipulation skills. You could actually see him reading the linebacker and Charlie Thomas and using his eyes and movement to get Thomas drifting toward the sideline, away from the throwing lane. And just by extending the play and continuing to roll, Shador created an open window, and he fired it in for a big gain. And no, it didn't look like a sack this time. It was completely legit. He stepped up, felt the edge pressure, and still got the ball out cleanly. And it was the kind of play that just makes you stop and go, okay, this guy's really got something here. Now, to get to the less glamorous parts of the day, well, I guess nothing gets less glamorous than the Emerson injury, but in 7-on-7, Shador got a chance to lead a sequence, and it was kind of a mixed bag. He had 2 incompletions, and then followed that up with a couple of checkdowns, one to Pierre Strong and one to the tight end in Sal Cannella. On the final rep of the sequence, he held the ball a little too long and did take a sack. It wasn't disastrous though, but it was a reminder that development is still happening, and sometimes you just want to see your QB make a quicker decision and avoid negative plays, but that'll definitely come with reps. And Shador's not perfect, and no one's asking him to be, but I still do think that he is the best QB on this roster. At least he's the QB that has the most upside. I know the coaching staff views Dillon Gabriel as higher up on the pecking order. I know that, but I'm allowed to have my personal opinion, and I just think that Shador Sanders is the more talented quarterback. I know I'm going to catch some slack for that in the comments. I've seen the comments on my last few videos, but I just don't don't get it, man. Shador has that ceiling. He's really like that. And speaking of mistakes, Dillon Gabriel definitely had a rough one today. He was running out on a 5-wide set, no running back in the backfield, and the defense sent some pressure. Gabriel did escape the pocket, but then he made a brutal mistake, throwing an interception right to Cameron Mitchell. I guess he just didn't see the defender at all. It was like that Jacoby Brissett interception I was talking about in my last video in the red zone against the Chargers when the Browns were trying to win the game. The wide receiver wasn't even close enough to contest it. There was no outcome other than a pick, and that's the kind of rep that just kind of sticks with you. It kind of offsets everything good that you did over the course of the day, especially when you're battling for a job like Dillon is right now. Now again, don't mistake what I'm saying for more than it is. I'm not saying Shador has been absolutely flawless. He made his own mistakes throughout camp too, especially today, but Gabriel's turnovers seem to carry a little more weight in terms of disrupting rhythm and killing drives. You just can't afford that in a close quarterback race. He'll definitely need to tighten that up if he wants to stay in this competition and ultimately win it. Alright, so let's get to the numbers real quick. Today's quarterback tracker had Joe Flacco going 8 for 11, Shador Sanders at 7 for 10, and Dillon Gabriel at 10 for 16. He led the day in terms of the most amount of reps, but Gabriel did have that bad interception, and that kind of volume without clean efficiency or ball security isn't going to win you the job. It's just not, especially right off the bat. And meanwhile, Shador didn't score a touchdown during the situational drills, but he scored 2 yesterday, but he's consistently moving the ball down the field and making smart plays. Again, he's just trending upward. Today's practice wrapped up with a 30-second drill from the 40-yard line, and none of the quarterbacks were able to punch it in. Both Gabriel and Shador came up empty, which was a little disappointing to see, but also it shows how tight the defense is playing right now, so there are some positives whenever your offense doesn't score. But it wasn't just bad quarterbacking. The coverage was there, and the timing was just a little bit off. And the final play of practice said a lot. Shador dropped back, the pressure came, and there was just nothing there. You look at the routes, everyone was completely clamped. 3 defenders were on one route, another guy was tangled up, but Shador didn't force it. He didn't try to play hero ball. He just ate the sack and lived to fight another day. Well, that's not how you want to end a session. It's also not the worst decision. Sometimes taking the loss on a play is better than giving the defense a chance to make an even bigger one. So that's where things stand right now, and that's how today went. Joe Flacco is the steady veteran. He's completing his throws. He's managing the pocket and doing exactly what you would expect out of a 40-year-old. Dillon Gabriel is flashing some upside, but he's also making costly mistakes. And Shador Sanders just continues to climb, and he's taking the steps necessary to get better every single day, and his mindset is in the right place. Following today's practice, Kevin Stefanski spoke to the media a bit, just talking about where things are at and how he's feeling about this team. I'm not sure if he spoke about the Emerson injury or not, but definitely unfortunate there. But let's see what he had to say.
I hope I've learned from every year, certainly. So, you know, the thing about our sport, which I love, I know our fans love, is you can't predict this. It's not scripted, I think. And it's the greatest reality show there is. So we as coaches and players, we have to be prepared to navigate anything and everything that comes our way, and that's the fun part of our business. It's definitely a balance. You know, you always are trying to protect a player from himself. We'll never put a guy out there if he's not able to protect himself. And then it's that fine line where guys play injured, whether it's injured, hurt, whatever word you want to use. Like that's how guys have played this game for a long time. We'll never do that where there's something that would need to protect themselves from them. But I'm not surprised a guy like MJ is going to play through injuries, because the truth is no one's feeling 100% once you get through a couple practices in training camp.
That's really all I got for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point. And if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly means the world. And until next time, I will see you all later.